What's up, folks? This is Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. I know that, like me, a lot of you are big fans of Savage Worlds, and for a Savage Worlds fan, it just doesn't get any better than their companion series. But the latest companion has not been getting much attention. I think that a lot of that's probably because it's not out in physical yet, but the PDF's been out for a little while, and I'm surprised nobody's talking about it. This book gives you the ability to do Star Wars, Shadowrun, Battletech, Warhammer 40,000, and many more. The question is, does it Jedi? If you are enjoying the content, please be sure to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Because despite one amazingly out of touch comment this week that I was quote unquote shilling for the dollars by sharing free alternative RPGs, I in fact don't receive any support from anyone or any organization, just the ad revenue, and that shilling, as the viewer put it, netted me all of $5.50 for last week's video. So yeah, I do this because I enjoy it, and because there are a lot of you out there that enjoy it as well, but definitely not getting rich. That said, any additional engagement helps me keep doing this, but maybe I'm wrong, and there is a secret cabal of rich, shadowy figures out there that pay YouTubers to talk about free RPGs. If you are, or know this Dr. Evil type figure, send them my way. Until then, I'll keep doing this for free. The numbers. The Sci-Fi Companion is the newest entry into the SWADE Companion series, clocking in at a meaty 304 pages and currently available in PDF format from DriveThruRPG. This book includes 21 ancestries, 14 hindrances, 25 edges, 11 arcane backgrounds, 18 powers, 10 genre styles, 136 enemies, 45 pages of gear and outpost rules, full sections on cybernetics, robots, power armor, starships, vehicles, walkers, and world making, as well as 9 pre-built sample empires. There's a lot here. Within these pages, you're going to find all the tools you need to run Savage Worlds games set in the worlds of Battletech, Warhammer 40k, Star Wars, Alien, Predator, Terminator, Guardians of the Galaxy, Fallout, and more. Honestly, science fiction is not my favorite genre of literature or film, but even so, there was enough that I immediately recognized to realize that there was a lot of care taken in curating the content for this book. For those who have perused the previous companion books, which were in genres that I am much more familiar with, I can say that this entry provides even more out-of-the-box, serial numbers filed off additions to your favorite IPs, ready to torment your players and tell your own stories. Familiar faces. As I mentioned, this book is absolutely teeming with opportunities to set games in one of your favorite sci-fi settings from pop culture. Right now, I'm going to go through some of the most obvious ones and share my thoughts. From Star Wars. First off, you can't do proper Star Wars without the Jedi, and they nailed this aspect. The arcane background, Star Knight, provides a very clearly laid out set of rules for playing Jedi, complete with all the powers you'd expect, the Code of Honor, and their lightsaber, or in this case, an energy sword with the trademark weapon edge for free. Specific Star Knight edges include Laser Parry, Laser Reflect, and Improved Laser Reflect, still hitting all the beats that you'd want for this type of character. Then further leaning into the established lore, you have the Sith and the Star Knave edge, giving access to Force Lightning, Force Choke, and more of those delicious dark side favorites. If you're more into the Ben Kenobi route, you could get the Star Wizard edge, which provides powers more in line with a certain crazy old wizard from Tatooine. Probably the most interesting Star Knave edge is the Stellar Ascension Legendary edge, and yes, it makes you a blue glowy. Everything feels right and accurate to the source, even if the source can't be named for copyright purposes, but I'd say this is probably the best depiction of Jedi in an RPG, and I've played all the RPGs that Star Wars has. Of course, any good hero is only as good as the challenges that you can pit them against, and in this case they include some excellent choices. For starters, you have the World Killer Starship, which is cheekily described in the book as the size of a small moon and built around a massive anti-planet death ray cannon. Yeah, it's pretty clear that this is the Death Star. It even includes discussion on how to commence primary ignition and a proper trench run mechanic for destroying it using dramatic tasks. This is going to be awesome for anyone that is a big fan of the original series. They didn't stop there either, as they included the Sarlacc pit in the way of the Sand Maw, which is suitably described and statted to swallow up your IP-free version of Boba Fett when that time comes. They also included the Deep Space Worm, clearly the SWADE equivalent to the worm that swallowed the Millennium Falcon in Empire. Again, the stats and abilities make it very clear what is represented here. You even have the rules for sandcrawlers, exploration crawlers as they call them here, and Jawas, which they call Zoxox. If you head to Hoth, you might want to bring your Gebok, an obvious stand-in for the Tauntaun. If you wanted to stop by Jabba's palace, beware the Irask, as that is the placeholder for the Rancor. There are also the more generic entries covering the different types like bounty hunters and the like that would be obviously useful in different types of games, but would fit right at home in a Star Wars game. If you ever wanted to try a SWADE game set in a galaxy far, far away, this book is your opportunity. Of course, there is more than just Star Wars here. They cover Rocket Raccoon-style characters via their Rascal ancestry and the Technomancer arcane background. And in that same vein, supply living planets as enemies if you need to take on Ego. If Guardians of the Galaxy isn't your thing either, what about the T-800 or T-2000 from the Terminator series? Because both the Arnie variation and the liquid metal Terminators are fully represented and statted in the cleverly named Eliminator Mark I and Mark II, respectively. These things are beasts and will demand the most hardened characters to take them down. Maybe you're more interested in a different Arnie-style movie and you want to unleash a predator on your group. Well, the Stalker has you covered. They have rad beasts from Fallout and all manner of aliens from that series, from facehuggers all the way up to the Queen. You can even find a power loader in the power armor section. If you flip through the various chapters dedicated to specific topics like starships, walkers, or robots, for example, you will find treasure troves of dedicated rules for running these in your games, as well as specific rules for customizing them, and a veritable cornucopia of existing variations to more than cover a full campaign. Of particular note for me were the walker rules, which very clearly took aim at Battletech. They cover the concepts of death from above attacks, overheating, as well as hitting that all-too-exposed ammo dump for a massive and satisfying explosion. Truthfully, using the included heavy metal rules, which speed up wounds for these behemoths, I would strongly consider replacing the existing Battletech rules to play that game with SWADE. There is just so much to like here. Does it all work? I can't say with certainty that it all works, because there are sadly just not enough hours in the day to run every possible style of game that this book enables. But I can say, from running a lot of SWADE games and having experience with virtually all of the games that this book is trying to emulate in the SWADE system, they are hitting all of the mandatory beats for running the different styles of games that they are aiming for. There are always going to be the purists that will prefer Westing games, Star Wars, or FASA Battletech, but if you have been struggling to get your players to dive into some of those older systems and wanted to test the waters, you could do a lot worse than SWADE with the Sci-Fi Companion.
That's a fact.
My players are currently running through the Sword Coast of Faerun in SWADE, and having no intentions of turning back to our old games of D&D or Pathfinder. It's not a stretch of the imagination to think that I could very easily transition them into a game of Star Wars using that same system with the tools that are provided here in the Sci-Fi Companion. I'm certain that bigger sci-fi fans than myself would find numerous references to some of their favorites that completely flew under my radar as a result of my lack of focus on that particular genre. There's a ton here. Think about this. You have 11 pages dedicated to just battle mechs. Now remember that you have similarly sized chapters on starships, power armor, cybernetics, robotics, vehicles, and world building.
Whoa, this is heavy.
And those are all separate from the already generous bestiary, character options, space artifacts, and arcane background sections, which are for the most part even larger. I know I get excited every time I pull out one of these companion books, and this is absolutely no different, other than the fact that I have seen surprisingly very little coverage on this particular one so far. I'm sure a good part of that is the fact that the physical book is yet to be released, but as you can see here, I couldn't resist the temptation to talk about it. I printed my own physical copy. I left out the GM-only chapters, as this will serve as my player copy at the table when the physical book becomes available, but the fact that I used this much ink to print a physical copy should tell you a little bit about how much I like this book. Summary. Who is this book for? I place this book in a similar place as the Supers Companion. In my mind, the horror and fantasy companions are so universally applicable and cross-compatible as to be must-own for any Savage Worlds GM. The Supers and sci-fi are a bit more targeted, but no less valuable. If you are wanting to play a sci-fi game or a post-apocalyptic game of any variety, this book will be indispensable. If, however, you have no intentions of ever running a game that is based on a galaxy far, far away, or to go boldly where no man has gone before, well, then you might be able to pass on this one. The contents are very much aimed at fans of specific properties in the genre, and if none of those appeal to you or your group, then you just might not find anything here that you just have to have. With that said, I can't imagine that I will play Star Wars again without using this book. I played the West End Games versions, all 3 editions. I played both editions of the D20 game, and I played the Fantasy Flights Games versions. But for my money, the freedom and the fidelity hit a perfect balance here in the very familiar pages of the Savage Worlds system. Moreover, I think that the swingy and dramatically quick combats of SWADE lend themselves to the swashbuckling over-the-top action from the original trilogy in a way that was often missing from the other takes on the setting. But that's my take, and I'd love to hear yours. Do you think there is enough here to get you to give this a go at your table? Is there a particular sci-fi setting that you didn't hear me mention that you want to inquire about playing with SWADE? Let's talk about it in the comments section. Are you looking for a place to discuss this subject in a more in-depth format? Head on over to Books, Bricks, and Boards Discord. Link in the description. There it is. That's my take on the sci-fi companion for SWADE. Until next time, this has been Justin from Books, Bricks, and Boards. Good gaming, and God bless.